their name when everyone who present in the council at least at the beginning. And so move on to the minutes of the previous meeting. If anybody have objection, if you think anything on the previous meeting wrong, and you can correct. If anybody has objection, no. The minutes are accepted. We are now move on to the election for liberation officer positions. And I would like to ask Hisham to come forward and explain about this role. There was no candidate in advance, so while Hisham is explaining, just come forward to Harris and give your name.
Hello everyone. So we have currently 7 liberation officers already, and we have one vacant position which is for faith and belief of the liberation officer. So if anyone feels you will be the right person for this role, please come forward and nominate yourself.
Can I ask what's the role about?
The role basically is about promoting faith and like belief and supporting students from minor communities. So like if you feel that. So
So I've asked all the candidates, so ask them to stand up and ask if
Did she nominate herself?
Yes. So ask to stand up. If there's any objections, if there's no objections, she gets the role.
I'd like to ask the candidate, so stand up and introduce yourself. It's up to you.
Okay. Hi, my name's Hafsa Niaz. I'm a second year environmental genetics student. As you can tell, I am Muslim, and I think being an ethnic minority and being very visibly Muslim, I feel like I've personally had experiences that would be able to positively contribute to this role, and I would like to make our union and university a safe space for everyone and their beliefs.
Thank you very much. We only have one candidate. If no one have objection to her, she is elected. If anyone have any objection? No? Congratulations, you're elected. And now we have one more open place for vacant councillor positions. And Harris, can you ask as well?
Well, can you explain, if you can explain, or you can ask.
This role is permanent plate for the rest of the year. If you would like to nominate, you can come forward to Harris and give your name. Does anybody want to nominate yourself? Okay. It's Harris.
So the name is Sweta Bananzagan.
Sweta.
Sweta.
I like. I would like to ask Sweta to introduce yourself and present why you want to be.
Hi, I'm Shweta. I'm doing NUSU Computer Science here in Newcastle. I have passion for computers and games. So I believe that I'm a perfect candidate for this position because being a counselor, communication is important. I have a bachelor's in English literature, which has prompted me to prove myself how to gain leadership position. That's it.
Thank you. Does anybody have objection to her? If not, she's elected. No? Congratulations, you're elected. Now, move on to steering committee report. We haven't received any objection before council. If anybody have objection, you can. So steering committee report is passed. Move on to scrutiny committee and disciplinary committee report. There was no objection before the council as well. If anybody have objection, now you can object. Okay. We're moving on to the State of the Union report. I'll now invite the President of NUSU to present the State of the Union report.
Alicia, do you want me to use the mic? Yes? Do you want me to use it or does it not matter?
If you can speak loud enough, then
I can try. Okay. No worries. Oh gosh. This is going great, guys. So the State of the Union, for us, the last month's been really, really busy and your SABs have been up to a lot. So after some discussion, we're excited to share that our ACT priority groups have set their aims. These are for improving the academic experience, increasing sense of belonging, addressing the cost of studying, and improving assessment support. For our challenging stigmas group, this is starting conversations around consent, tackling racial stigmas, and advocating for disabled students. For the confronting the cost of living group, this is securing affordable food, addressing housing issues, and ensuring access to extracurriculars. So we've been involved in a lot of projects together. In October, I went down to Westminster with Hisham, Lin Ming, and Jasmine to lobby MPs to abolish guarantors alongside other officers from students' unions up and down the country as part of the National Union of Students National Lobby Day. On the cost of living side of things, Hisham and I have also been working on securing funding to relaunch the exam pasta schemes at the libraries, and we're also hoping to expand this to the Students' Union and Business School. Another really exciting thing that's happened is that Jasmine and Swati have now selected our team for the University Challenge. And I don't know who the names are, so if you want to know, you'll have to ask them in the questions and mandates to officers. But thank you to everyone who's taken part in the University Challenge selection process so far. Swati's also run a Diwali event as the first Festival of Culture celebration. We're pleased to let you know that the Support and Advice Hub will be reintroducing sexual health drop-ins starting from December, with the first session being on the 5th. You can come speak to a sexual health practitioner about things like contraception and STI testing. As part of the NUSU staffing restructure, we're also undergoing an internal review of the sabbatical officer roles. A report is being written so that our Board of Trustees can decide on what roles we'll have next year during the December board meeting on the 4th of December. And since council is the next day, you'll be getting the updates straight away, pretty much. This may result in sabbatical officer roles being removed, merged, or added to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of how we work. For this reason, this year election nominations won't be opening until after Christmas. We're also in the process of reviewing our poster policy, and we hope to have clearer guidance available for you soon. In the meantime, if you'd like to put anything up, please speak to one of the SABs to get it signed off. On a more national scale, we're aware that tuition fees and maintenance loans are due to rise, and we share the frustrations you may have around this. The universities put out some information on how tuition fee rises may affect you. If you go to the papers digitally, there's a link there to the student notice board post. In other news, the main SU lift is still due for refurbishment from the 2nd of December to the 27th of January, during which time it will be out of order, so please expect increased noise during the refurbishment. We ask that you take the time to plan your club, society, and volunteering activities appropriately so that disabled students can continue to participate. There will be a temporary stair lift from Luther's to the venue, and please reach out to a member of staff if you're having any issues with access. If you'd like to know more about what individual officers have been doing, please feel free to refer to the officer reports in the council papers. I have lost
Thank
the
you.
thing I threw.
I will now give anyone an opportunity to object to the State of the Union report. If anybody wishes to do, please raise your hand. So the report is accepted. And now I'll invite all of the vertical officers to join front. This section is the question and mandates. So this is your opportunity as student to ask question about what they're doing, but just remind all of the question you're asking should be related to their work, not about their private. And I would like to ask the officers to introduce yourself first.
Yeah, sorry. I probably should have done that while I gave my report. I'm Leo and I'm the union president.
I'm Jasmine, the Education Officer.
I'm Isham, I'm the Wellbeing and Equality Officer.
I'm Swati, I'm the Activities Officer.
I'm Limin, the Postgraduate Officer.
If anybody have any question to them, just raise your hand, please. Any question? No?
What was the easiest question we've ever had?
In this part, they can have a-
I think it's the easiest
Yeah,
one.
but yeah, these will get passed.
Thank
as
you,
well
everyone.
because there's been no objections. So let's have sit down once.
You gonna burst into song, Jasmine?
Yeah. So now we go on to the officer report. And it's committee minutes. There's been no objections, so these will pass.
Okay.
Can you also? Okay. So we aren't at quorate. We don't have enough people to vote.
Okay.
So how it works
Okay.
is that when we vote on the motions, anything that passes, next council we will have one vote to approve everything that happens in this council.
So we're not gonna do vote today.
We are.
They come and settle, and there's already the first term examination. So are there any initiatives that we are particularly taking to help them transition from their the environment that they have been studying in their home country to in the UK it's completely different when you compare it to other countries. The academics academic I don't know how to put this right, like the exams or the way they study is completely different in the UK. So how do you what are the initiatives that you take to help them transition with their academic the way they learn, or if you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Actually, at the start of this new semester, me, Jasmine, and Hisham had a short presentation about to help the international student to know the England education system, and we also mentioned on the education committee today, and it's about the what can we offer some help to you. I just can say, yeah, we will put more maybe some prestations on the International Welcome Week.
And to add on that, we run campaigns throughout the year, and this year even Jasmine is planning to run for dissertation support. So that's also something that will help for the international students, and we do we do provide throughout the year, like for newsletters and articles for students, especially international students. Now, even Lin Ming is working on one regarding scam that international students often fall victim to. She's planning to preparing for a video, so that will be going next week. Upcoming week. So throughout the year, we will be providing some awareness information through our articles, videos, and running campaigns like dissertation support. Last year, it was about for exam giveaway. So and about even for regarding PEC systems. So this is something new that international students are not much aware of. So regarding this one also, we spread awareness. So I would suggest you all to like visit NUSU whenever you can and check our websites to know what's happening in and around to stay updated. This.
As a student rep for my program, we all have different concerns. Like, is this the right place to put that out, or is there a separate process that needs to be followed, or is there a platform where I can put out the concerns of the students?
Yeah, you would. The best place to go would just be coming straight to me or Lin Ming. We do have the excuse me, Education Executive Committee where all the course and school reps are invited to express your concerns and share updates and things. But you can always just send a message directly to either one of us if you ever have a concern about your course. I will add on to your previous point. Recently, the student life team, and that's at the university, are talking about looking at their pre-arrival and induction process for all students, and especially international students, to make that like academic culture shock a little bit easier coming in. And Lin Ming and I are also going to be involved in those projects. And it also fits in with the sense of belonging part of our improving the academic experience priority. So it is a priority for us.
Any more question? If there's no question, I would like to ask all the officers to have your seats. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Can I give? I don't know how to pass it.
And now we are moving on to officer reports and executive committee minutes, but there was no objection, so this is passed. And now we are going to do the motion part. Just to let everyone know, we haven't met our voting numbers needed today to be quorum. Because of this, all motion votes today will be indicative. So this means we will discuss and vote on the motion as normal. Then in December, we will have a single business motion that will retroactively pass all the motions submitted today, unless an objection is received to that before December. But we are still going to the vote as well. So the first motion, complaints review motion, is about constitutional motions.
Sorry, 1 second.
Sorry, can I just clarify something? What's that? Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not explicit, that's what we're doing. So if the question passes, then it's explicit, we'll do it to the committee, and they'll do nothing. So what I'm suggesting is that you just say
sure.
as proposed.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I'll let Claire.
Okay, no worries. So just
That's fine.
Alright.
So
Hello.
wait, Swati, 1 second. So before Swati goes, just explain to everyone that Swati submitted a friendly amendment to their motion to add to the resolves disband disciplinary committee. The wording will be on the screen in a second.
So you're going to explain about the motion?
They are, but what you need to do is explain to everyone that a friendly amendment, Swati has submitted a friendly amendment. Where am I losing you?
Amendment?
So Swati is, so amendment to change the motion.
Okay.
So Swati as proposer
Right.
has submitted a friendly amendment to change the motion to add an extra resolve to disband disciplinary. The wording will be on the screen in a second. Is that okay?
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
So I can explain it.
Yeah. You can.
Okay, so this motion is about reviewing how we deal with complaints at the union. Currently, it's a lot of reliance on sabbatical officers and student volunteers. And over the summer, a lot of work has been undertaken to kind of review how we deal with complaints. It aimed to address kind of key challenges with the current process, including how it's quite outdated, it's quite over-reliant on the SABs, it's over-reliant on student volunteers, and we basically want to put it more on the staff and kind of take pressure off of sabbatical officers and student volunteers while dealing with complaints. The old process was based on a long-standing version that struggles to effectively support students through the increased to effectively support students through these complaints, and the increased seriousness of complaints that we've kind of been getting over the last couple of years haven't been properly dealt with through the process, because obviously we're not qualified to deal with complaints of that nature. We also want to avoid dealing with kind of informal complaints through this really long, lengthy process, because it puts stress on us, it puts stress on the students and the complainers. So the proposed new process seeks to prioritize student welfare, especially in complaints of more serious nature, kind of revolving around harassment or sexual misconduct, and put kind of survivor centrism at the forefront of that. So making sure that the reporter's needs are fully met and respected throughout the process. And it also aims to kind of relax the process when complaints are a little bit more informal. And it means that we don't have to kick off our really long, lengthy disciplinary complaints procedure at the minute. It gives us a lot more flexibility and a lot more remit in what we can do. So, for example, we can only currently ban students from holding positions of power within NUSU, like a committee position or a liberation officer or sabbatical officer position, for 12 months. But this would give us the freedom to extend that to, for example, their whole tenure at university. So it just gives us a lot more flexibility and takes pressure off SABs and student volunteers and puts it more on the staff.
Thank you.
Okay.
Are we going to class? If anybody have a question, raise your hand, please.
So, are you saying that from if someone's, being told off,
Mm-hmm.
they can have up to 3 years suspension from NUSU?
So not necessarily, but if it's a case of gross misconduct, for example, we don't believe that someone should be then able to hold a position of power a year after it's happened. So
So it's specifically positions of power.
positions of power.
Okay, so what about if just being a part of society? Would that also be a part of not being able to be a part of society, or is it just power?
So for gross misconduct cases anyway, we refer them to the university because we frankly don't have the skill set or the remit to sanction those cases appropriately. So we refer them to the university and they can put their own sanctions in. So for example, if someone has done something really, really awful, an appropriate sanction might be expulsion, but we don't have the power to expel. So we would pass those cases on to the university anyway.
Okay.
For the motion, keep swapping,
Oh, can I invite Lindsay to speak?
keep swapping until you're happy that the debate's happened, and then move to votes.
Yeah, cool. I can say it now anyway if you want.
Yeah, after I mention.
Yeah, no worries.
just so everyone knows, Swati have submitted a friendly amendment to disband disciplinary as seen in reserved 4. As Swati is the proposer, this has been accepted. And I'll like that's what.
Yeah, so if you've read the full motion, it does state that disciplinary committee is disbanded as a result of the motion, and so we've just made that explicitly clear with another friendly motion. We did send the motion out early to members of disciplinary committee asking for feedback, and we didn't receive any. But I understand that if you are part of disciplinary committee and you were excited to be on that committee, then this might come as a bit of a disappointment. But being honest, they've not met in over 2.5 years. So this is just a more kind of transparent way of doing things anyway. But if anyone has any questions, I'll feel free and I'll try my best. Yeah.
Inviting people to speak, not Swati. You're the chair, not her. Swati Byrne speaks, not Swati. It's you who chooses.
My mission is about like them being given together, because
Okay.
I've seen and heard of cases where like maybe somebody's been removed from one club,
Yeah.
but yet can be in a position of power in a completely different club.
Yeah.
And although like that person, like the club that they're involved in, they are having to deal with that person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really understand how then they can go on and be even the president of a completely different club when clearly what they've done is bad to get someone from one club. It's just like keeping that like fair for everyone and not being like one sided to one.
Yeah. So the reason that would have happened is because of caveats within the old procedure as well that would have said you can only ban people from one committee position at a time, but this gives us a lot more flexibility in what we can actually do. So it could be a blanket ban for 12 months, for 24 months, or et cetera, et cetera. So it does give, and sorry, I'll invite Lindsay to speak again.
So alongside this review, there's been lots of work going on to place the last 12 months. And what we've done internally is we've got a governance and compliance coordinator and they have that technical resource because things like that shouldn't be happening because it was all very fragmented. So an officer would be here but not talk to that department or whatever or that other area, but now they're all centralised and it's kind of helps build up some of that as well. So we have a member of staff who receives all complaints, logs them as the stage is following, as the timeline's been met, what's the outcome, has the letters been met, so that it's all joined up so they can kind of things start falling through the cracks basically. This section is kind of the part of that bigger piece of work, bigger process to make complaints, to make sure that they're handled in the correct manner and it's more consistent. The fact that it's more staff led means that level is there from year to year rather than consistent.
And will that the staff led, will there be student volunteers involved?
So it gets rid of the exec's involvement in complaints. So it gets rid of the executive committee's role in kind of dealing with complaints. Sabbatical officers will still have oversight, but we won't be kind of the leading investigator, which again takes a lot of pressure off of us, removes a lot of potential conflicts of interests, etc. Yep.
In point 7 of the release, it does just say positions of responsibility.
Mhm.
Is there, I know it's not in the content of the motion, is there in like the constitution or something an exact definition of what position of responsibility is? Because for example, in societies and clubs, there's a lot of non-principal committee members that NUSU doesn't necessarily know about. Would they be included, etc.? I just think it would be worth having some central resource that says exactly what you're banned from doing in the extreme cases, as I mentioned.
So correct me if I'm wrong, Lindsay, but currently positions of responsibility are principal committee above all the way up to sabbatical.
I would say so, yeah, because you won't necessarily know what they were, but I think in the minutes today, I think that's something to maybe take away for us to look at. And I appreciate you bringing that up actually. I think it's, yeah, it would be principal committee.
Would that not be worth amending to the motion now? As up to responsibility.
I think with that it's obviously members of societies that are dealing with complaints that have been complained about that aren't to do with the club or society they're in would go straight to the university anyway. So if they're not in principal committee and we don't recognise it, it would go straight to their process anyway, and they would have their own kind of way of dealing with things, whether that be banning from, which in my opinion, I think is probably worse. But I'm not sure what you think, and if you think we'd still want to amend it.
No, I think, look, I just think there should be some centralised resource of exactly what position of responsibility is. Because, like, to me, I would also consider, say, sabbatical as a position of responsibility.
Yes.
And in the wording of the motion, it's unclear whether they'd be banned from that as well.
Well, we have our own procedures.
You're meant to be asking questions, but it seems to have just been back and forth. So you're
I mean, maybe we could add to the resolves for us to look further into the definition of the position of responsibility.
if you want to propose a friendly amendment, come speak to me.
If you like.
What are you? So what do you want to change?
So is it to the resolves and basically something that looking into finding exactly what position of responsibility within the would be?
Swati? Yes. Are you happy to accept that friendly amendment?
So just adding to the results.
To look into what a position of
To look
responsibility
in
is.
and then to define what position of responsibility is, probably through
I think there is a definition of a position of responsibility, and it is principal and above.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if you would.
It's up to you. I mean, you've got an amendment. Do you want to accept it or not?
Would you like a more explicit definition?
If it exists somewhere, I just sort of like to know about it. Obviously, I don't have the whole constitution memorized.
Okay.
I'd be happy to say look into if it exists. And
Yeah, to investigate.
so either sort of maybe to review what
That term
creates.
isn't defined in the constitution
It's
as
not
a
defined yet.
not that exact term.
Okay. So
Okay.
is there a definition of something similar, or at least something comparable?
Generally that would be read by a reasonable person being in a position to any.
So that would include like SAB slips.
If you would define it as having a responsibility or something,
But
that would be what I would do.
me too, but then that's what Lindsay says that could be like an
So
extra
it's up to you.
elections.
Lindsay's got to offer that feedback.
Yeah.
You do it.
I'd like to submit the motion to review if you're happy with it.
I'm happy with it.
Okay, so what right here? So Swati, Lindsay says it's a good degree of like asking you vote.
So to add as a resolve to review the exact definition of what is it member of responsibility? 0.7 member of responsibility in NUSU is, and report back at a future council. Is that something you can put in a resolve, or just report back somehow?
So review the exact definition of position of responsibility at NUSU and report that to council. Is that what you want?
Yes,
Is that you happy with that?
Amazing.
So Swati's accepted another friendly amendment, and it's now resolved 5, which is on screen. So let's let everyone know that's happened.
So it's
Swati has accepted another friendly amendment, which is resolved 5 on screen now. I'm going to let everyone else know about that. Thank you.
So Swati's motion is sorry.
Swati has accepted. It's the exact same wording as before.
Friendly amendment.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, Swati has accepted a friendly amendment, which is number 5 on screen. Resolved 5.
I would like to everyone have a quiet.
Can you get back to this, please?
Just to everyone know, Swati accepted the friendly amendment, and which is now on reserve 5 on the screen.
Yeah, so following Lily's point, just reviewing the exact definition of what a position of responsibility is, because currently I think we only recognise it from principal committee and above, but you made a really good point there, so we will report back next council. I appreciate it is a kind of a change from what we've been doing and what you might be used to, but I hope you understand that it is for kind of everyone. Yes.
So just on the point of like who like just principal committee are like positions of power, is if this gets passed in the next meeting, will that be then put out to schools? Because I think certain people who are currently maybe banned from being in committee roles think, or positions of power, think it's just all committee roles, and certain people think it's just principal committee. So then the presidents who are going into re-electing for the next year's committees, they kind of need to be aware of who can and can't run. And at the moment, they're not really informed about who's allowed to run.
So every club and society has a constitution, and within that constitution, there's roles of there's titles of roles of committee positions. So I would say that if the committee position is in the constitution, then it's an official committee position, and the student can't run for any of those within the constitution.
Presidents don't necessarily know who is the man. Like there's no, like you don't get told like that somebody is allowed to be. So like you could be a president and have somebody run and have no idea that they're not meant to run. So is there going to be like with this complaints procedure that information going out to presidents?
Once we've established the exact definition of positions of responsibility and who this procedure applies to, then yes, there will be.
A point of information for that, the handover would probably be rejected if that were to happen. So you might not know until before the fact, but NUSU would then reject it at the end of the year. Obviously, that's not ideal timings for it, but it would at least be caught somewhere along the line, just not as early as would be okay.
But I understand your point in that if it's not in the constitution, then the president would have no idea. But we will clarify next. That's all.
Does anyone have any opinions against or for Sati's motion? If no, I'd like to ask you have a seat. And also, before moving on to ordinary motion, I would like to just remind, before presenting yourself, just raise your hand first, and then speak after I ask you to speak. So moving on to more ordinary motion, we have... Oh, before moving on to ordinary motion, sorry, we're going to go to vote first. Not yet. It's yours.
People are voting. No, people are voting.
It existed, I voted, then it disappeared.
I mean, we've got two responses. People are voting.
It showed up for me, then it disappeared at the same time it disappeared for everyone else.
If you go to, you follow the instructions from the top, it'll take you back. Yeah. So we've got 30 people, that's currently how people vote. So when you're happy, that's close enough to 30. Or people have had longer than time we need to close.
There's 23 places.
there's 30 places.
I'm struggling to join.
Also, if a device randomly turns off, it will no longer count it. So
Thank you.
Very, very loud.
Yeah, does. I can't seem to hear my.
What do you want to vote for?
Yes.
Okay. He wants to vote for what? Yeah, yeah. Okay.
You have it closed?
Yeah. So the vote is now closed. Does it-
Full screen now.
So it's passed. Now we are moving on to ordinary motions. We have four. Who do I need to ask for? And I would like to ask Katie to confront and explain about your motion. If you're here.
To not ask Jasmine to present it on behalf of steering.
Yeah, if not, I would like to ask Jasmine to confront.
Okay, hello everybody. This motion essentially would like to address a lack of spaces on campus, specifically in the NUSU building, that prioritise relaxation and socialisation that doesn't put pressure on students to drink alcohol or spend money. So the proposer has taken into consideration that NUSU is planning on carrying out a refurbishment in the near future. The results of this motion are essentially asking us to take into account the recommendations such as comfortable seating, warm lighting, self-serving kitchenettes and activities in the spaces that are created in the refurbishment.
Thank you. Does anybody have any opinions for or against? Before that, does anybody have a question?
Is there anything more specific?
Just remind you, like, raise your hand first. Yeah.
Is there anything more specific you could tell us about the motion?
About what part of the motion?
In general, like, is there any examples of the more comfortable lighting, more comfortable seating? Is there anything noticeable change for the student?
Can I do a point of information?
Sure.
The full motion will be on the student council papers.
This is promotion. Yeah.
I was going to ask, where is the place that they're refurbishing? Is it
That would be the main NUSU building. So not this one, to my understanding, but the main NUSU building with the co-op and the three
like
floors.
upstairs area, or like where like Julika's bars or something?
I think Lindsay would be best to answer this question.
Say point of information? Yeah, basically, we managed to secure, not we, before I started here, there was £6 million secured from the university to refurbish the building. Because of the university's financial situation, it's currently paused, so we actually spent the first year, because it was like each year, to refurbish the bar area, which we did, and got a kitchen in and things, and then we should have this summer refurbished, gosh, I can't remember all levels, all the media floor and where all the activities are, which was paused, and we now have to wait 2 years for basically all the upper floors to all be refurbished. Fingers crossed, I'm going to get go ahead from the university. So yeah, so it's pretty much all of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are we waiting for a refurbishment rather than, like, surely this could be done by just like purchasing chairs and giving students access to them?
just explained, the university have promised a certain amount of money to carry out the refurbishment, but in light of the university situation, we can't act on the refurbishment without those funds, as we're separate and don't have £6 million to be thrown around, unfortunately. So the suggestions that have been made in this motion would include, like you suggested, purchasing and rebuilding and renovating, and that's not something that we could do right in the immediate term. So the proposers put through the motion with the understanding that these would be taken into consideration in the refurbishment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I just don't understand why we needed refurbishment. Lots of these things seem to be possible without £6 million. Like, it didn't seem to cost that much. Like, there were existing kitchenettes, right, and donated books and games, and rearranged seating. Like, basically for free.
Efforts have been already made towards making social spaces available within the union. Like, for example, on the second floor, we've got a mini library going. It is meant to be a social space as well as a study space. On the first floor, there's a table instead of we're utilizing the empty office space better by putting a table there. People can eat. So I think there are efforts already being taken to make the union more sociable without away from the bar. But I think this motion is just to put even more effort into that and consider it actively while doing the refurbishment.
Does anyone have any questions?
So, are you getting more chairs? Just want to clarify.
I am not the person carrying out the refurbishment or in charge of buying chairs. I'm not the person to guarantee that or not. But if we do get more chairs, they will be very comfortable.
And how about PS5?
Oh, I'm sorry. Also, no guarantees.
Can we get free? Sorry. Can we get free pizza at the refurbishments? £6 million.
There's no guarantees from me. Unfortunately, I wish I could say.
Does anyone have more questions?
If not, does anybody have any opinions for or against to just Katie's motions? If not, we're going to start the vote, and I would like to ask Jasmine to have a seat. So the vote is now opened. How many?
This first piece took 26 now. 26 people.
All right. I'll close. closed. Yeah. The vote is closed. And it's passed. But should I ask three more motions to Jasmine as well, or
Pardon?
should I ask Jasmine three more?
No, because Leo was presenting that motion.
And I would like to, moving on to the next motion, which is lobbying the university for ethical investment. And I would like to ask Leo to confront and explain about your motion.
I'm guessing NUTV wants me to use them. All right, Alicia. First of all, I'd just like to thank everyone who's helped with the writing of this motion, because this has been several weeks of drafts and talking to people and doing research and going around and doing quite a bit of work. So thank you to everyone who's helped contribute to this. This is a bit of a weird situation, actually, because the universities already began to meet the results kind of independently of this, but I'd still like to put this motion through and pass it as like more pressure and more of a push, so that the university knows that this is what students want from them. As part of this motion, I'd like to kind of lobby the university for a review of their ethical investment policy, make sure it really is ethical, as sustainable and as responsible as it can be. And you'll also notice an impact in this motion, an emphasis in this motion on impact investment. This is after consultation with Students Organising for Sustainability, who have suggested this, because in their words, money is money, and if you try and steer it away from one place, there's a good chance it'll end up there anyway. So if you make sure that you're putting this money where you want it to go in the end, then it makes you make sure that it's not going where you don't want it to go, and you make sure that it's doing something good. So yeah.
Does anyone have questions for Leo's motion? Yeah.
So this is one of the motions that mandates sabbatical officers to lobby. And in practice, what that means is that it means we need to meet with the university and tell them this is what we want, or bring up kind of the contents of this motion in university meetings and tell them this is what we want. It might be that we show them the motion, show them the wording. It might be that or it might be just that these are things we have to discuss within those meetings. So I started writing this before the university decided they wanted to do ethical investment work, which is why the timing's a bit funny. But it's also kind of formalizing it. It's a push so that if the university turns around and tries to say, we don't really need this, we have strong, solid evidence from our student body going, no, we want this and we need this.
Does anyone have more questions? If not, does anyone have any opinions for or against to Leo's motion? If not, we're going to start the vote, and I'd like to ask you to have a seat.
It's okay. You didn't actually spell any. I'd already dropped most of it.
Jasmine's job.
Yeah, Jasmine's job to spell.
So the vote is closed. This motion is passed. And now we are moving on to next motion, which is enhanced anti-racism and conflict management training for security and estate staff. And also we have safeguard peaceful protest rights on campus. I would like to have Hafsa to confront and explain. Oh.
Where is the mic?
It's on the left.
Um,
Just clarify
Hello, everyone. Just a trigger warning. There will be mentions of racism and of police violence in both motions. So the first motion that I've proposed is enhanced anti-racism and conflict management training for security and estate staff. It's quite clear, unfortunately, over the past months, as students have been protesting relentlessly, that security and estates require further training and support from the university to learn how to manage conflicts better and how to ensure that their biases, if present at all, are not exhibited during working hours. This includes passing comments like "get them ham" for a student encampment with a mostly Muslim and Jewish student body. For context, Muslims and Jewish people cannot eat ham. Insensitive comments like this, alongside comments from higher members of staff and management, like calling a brown Muslim woman irrational for not being able to control the action of other students, is very alarming and very concerning. However, we do acknowledge that sometimes when it comes to situations like these, which they're not really trained for, I'm sure that estates and security did not expect protests lasting for months alongside an encampment. They don't have the training that they require in order to deal with this properly. So we would like to urge and mandate our sabbatical officers to lobby the university to mandate comprehensive anti-racism and conflict management training for all security and estate staff, emphasizing the importance of non-discriminatory behavior, to require periodic retraining for these departments to reinforce these principles and ensure adherence, ensuring that the university adheres to its established procedures so complaints can be effectively resolved without needing to escalate complaints for appropriate outcomes, feedback to the students how the university plans to respond to this, to issue a public statement recognizing that some students feel uncomfortable due to certain behaviors exhibited by security which may be perceived as intimidating. It should emphasize the importance of fostering a respectful and inclusive environment at the university and express our hope that the university will take student feedback seriously to help rebuild trust and ensure that all students feel safe around estates and security, because we all deserve to feel safe on campus.
Does anyone have a question? Yes.
If the motion were to go through, from my knowledge and for this mathematics knowledge, how would you like the training to be delivered?
I think one of the most prominent issues that we as students who are protesting have faced are examples of Islamophobia and anti-Palestinian racism. So comments like the Palestinian flag being referred to as the Hamas flag. I think this training should be led by Palestinian and Muslim voices. So we've got a Palestine Society on campus and we have got the ISOC as well. So we would encourage the sabbatical officers to consult both societies to help create that safe space on campus.
Does anyone have more questions? If not, does anybody have any opinions for or against to?
I think there was a question.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's just a question. When you were saying about anti-racism, is this going to include like other ethnic minority groups, so not just Islam, but other religions, other minority groups?
Of course, of course. I'm only speaking from my personal experience because I don't want to overstep on anyone else's experience, but 100%. So when we say anti-racism, we mean everything, all faiths, all ethnic minorities, because we believe that the staff unfortunately lack that training and they need that support. We recognize that they need that support, which is why we're wanting to lobby the university through our SABs to provide them that support they need.
Any more questions? Does anybody have any opinions for or against to Hafsa's motion?
I'm happy to speak for.
Sure.
I think this is the kind of thing that's always needed, but especially kind of in the last year or so with a lot of the violence we've seen, with a lot of the hatred we've seen, and I think it comes at a really timely time. It's probably not something that's going to happen quickly because these things never happen quickly, but I think it's one of those things that further down the line we'll see really positive impact for sort of in the near future, but also far into the future. So I'm all for mandating us to lobby, to mandate.
Does anybody have any more opinions? If not, I would like you to have a seat, and we're going to start votes. So the vote is now closed. And this motion is passed. And now we are moving on to next motion, and I would like to ask Hafsa again.
I'm back. Thank you. First thing I would say, again, trigger warning. Police violence will be mentioned in this report, in this motion. I'm going to provide some context for people that aren't as aware about Newcastle Apartheid off campus. So it's a group of students protesting the university's investments in the genocide in Gaza, and through their ties to fossil fuel companies, through their ties to companies that have links to weapon companies like Keysight Technologies, which work closely with UAV tactical systems, developing the drones currently being used to murder innocent people in Gaza. So, on the 29th of May, students from Newcastle Apartheid off campus protested on campus alongside the community to raise awareness about the university's investments. Instead of listening to its students, unfortunately, the university decided to invite police over onto campus, which included about 140 police officers on campus. It also involved the use of batons and excessive police force on students, staff, and members of community. We also witnessed a heightened targeting towards non-men and hijabi protesters during the protests and during the interactions. There were footages of police officers grabbing onto their scarves, on their hijabs, grabbing onto their breasts, pushing people, and using unnecessary violence on campus. Additionally, an arrest was made on our campus. A peaceful member of the public was arrested unlawfully, and this has been confirmed by the police last night in writing. So this motion is there because we believe that the university and the union have a duty to ensure that students are safe on campus, and especially during a protest. Students involved in the protest did not feel reassured by the presence of multiple police units, including K9 and anti-terror units, police from the Scottish borders, and Durham police as well, or the behaviour of some of the police officers as seen in the video footage. The university has a responsibility to address the student body's concern about police activity on campus, especially with the heightened draconian crackdown on pro-Palestinian activists in the UK as we speak. The Students' Union Council resolves that we should advocate for policies that ensure peaceful protest rights and increase transparency regarding campus policing practices, to mandate our sabbatical officers to bring up this issue at the next community unity discussion with the police, focusing on an explanation for the police activity in response to student protests, to demand that if sufficient answers are not provided by police, the university should hire an independent investigator to review the incident on the 29th of May 2024. Just one last bit of information. The 29th of May 2024, the incident that we witnessed is the most brutal police crackdown on any student protest for Gaza so far. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions for Hafsa's motion? If not, does anybody have any opinions for or against to Hafsa's motion? Sure.
I got to see the video that witnessed the one you were talking about, and it was really concerning. And I did have talk with that sabbatical officers, and I think it is that video was something highlighting the lightening up why we need like safeguard peaceful protest rights on the campus, because till that moment I thought it wasn't a safe thing in the campus. So and I think this is something very important, irrespective of what's the reason for the protest. It should be something very safe, and even after seeing those videos and uh, having an evident proof in front of our eyes, I think this is something it should stop as soon as possible. So I support this, and I think it should be something that should go straight away. Start working on it.
Thank you. Does anybody have any more opinions? Sure. I go to yourself.
So I think if anyone's been reading my officer reports from the last few months, you'll see that I've been doing quite a bit around kind of protest stuff, and that's for a reason, because we're all here because we're student advocates, we're student activists, and peaceful protest is at the heart of what we do as student activists. And it's something we really need to protect because it's such an important part of our movement. I can't think of many times when students have been on the wrong side of history morally. And I think that's something we really need to protect, that we really need to safeguard, to make sure that students today protesting for Palestine, for Sudan, for everything going on in the world are safe, but also students in the future for whatever might come up.
Thank you.
Whenever we talk about the protests at the union and at the university, a repeated kind of motif that comes up is we weren't prepared. And quite frankly, it shocks me that we weren't prepared, because how can an establishment like a students' union, or how can an establishment like a university not be prepared for peaceful protest, which is the lawful right of every citizen, and definitely, certainly every student. I agree with Leo. I can't think of a single time students have been on the wrong side of history. And I just love if this motion passed to mandate us to continue doing the work that we've already been doing and that Leah's been doing great on to continue. So that's my spiel. I don't think you're going to have much of a problem getting this.
Thank you. Does anybody have any more opinions? Sure.
Can I ask a point of information? I don't think Hans will know it, but I think Liam will. We're working on updating the student charter. Has the deadline for that gone yet, or are we still working on it to speak with the uni about it?
They've not really given me a formal deadline. They've just said they want student feedback by the end of December.
Okay.
So if anyone wants to talk to me, I'll bring it up at the student announcement. I can't remember what it's called. Student notices at the end. That I'm doing some work with the uni on the student charter. Up for feedback.
Okay, thank you.
I'll just confirm that would be the student charter for next year, because we can't change the one for this year.
Does anyone have any opinions? More opinions? If not, we're going to start up votes. So the vote is closed. the motion is passed. Now we are going to move on to elections for positions selected by council. We have 3 roles available, and I would like to ask Jasmine to come up, or Liming, and explain about steering committee role.
Hello again. Okay, so we have one place still available on steering committee, which is essentially a group of people that meets once or twice before every meeting of council to review the motions that have been submitted, to kind of review them and make sure that they're an accurate representation of what the proposer wants to convey, and to make sure that it's the appropriate kind of thing to come to council. So that's myself and Lin Ming and a couple of other people in the room that sit on steering, and Leo, of course. So we do have one more place available, so if you would like to contribute to those discussions about what will be brought to council, then please speak to Harris.
We have one single candidate, Oliver, and I would like to ask you to introduce yourself and explain why you want to be. Okay. Okay.
Hi, I'm Oliver. I'm school rep for history, mathematics and archaeology. I'm in those societies, and I'm on 2 other committees as well. Was on disciplinary committee, but that space is just opened up obviously, so I can fill up this one. So yeah, I'm hoping to join the steering committee to represent a lot of different people in the union, a lot of different places through a lot of different perspectives, and hopefully, yeah, make sure that we student unions pass motions that represent what students want.
Does anyone have objections? Are we going to vote? Okay. If not, Oliver is elected. Congratulations. And the next role is scrutiny committee, and I would like to ask Leo.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this is scrutiny committee, and it's exactly what it says on the tin. They scrutinize the union. So this means going through minutes, going through what we're doing, and making sure that everything we do is kind of good and proper. And it also involves scrutinizing officers. So if I'm not mistaken, elected officers can't also be on scrutiny. So this would only be open if you aren't an officer. Liberation officer, that is. SABs can't go for it either.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Yes?
At least once a month. And then, from what I understand, they meet once a month to go through minutes and stuff. And then they meet less frequently to scrutinize SABs directly, but that bit's a bit newer.
Does anyone have any more questions? If I would like to have a seat. If you would like to nominate yourself, just come front and give your name to Harris. Okay. Next role is Wellbeing Actions and Liberation Executive, and I'd like to ask Hisham to confront and explain about this role.
So once again, everyone. So basically, the Wellbeing Exec Committee consists of myself and liberation officers and members elected in the open place. Last month campaign ideas you want to run, need some support in it, and or you have any potential motion ideas that you want to bring to council in terms of well-being, in reference to well-being, and we want to work as a we work as a team. We brainstorm into ideas, and before every council, ideally we have a committee meeting. So this will be the right committee to bring your ideas and work as a team. So anybody want to nominate this?
Does anyone have questions? If not, you can have a seat. Okay. Now we're going to give just 1 or 2 minutes to nominate yourself. If you would like to, just come front and give your name to Harris. So we have one candidate for the role of Wellbeing Action and Liberation Executive. And I'd like to ask Nandi to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Mandy. I was part of exec Wellbeing Action Liberation, being part of the committee, just see what happened in student union and kind of make it clear that way.
Thank you. Does anyone have any objections? If not, congratulations, Nandi, you're elected. And now we are moving on to student notice session. If you have any announcements or anything you'd like to share, just feel free to do so at this time. Yes.
There's a few things for me, so I'll make this as quick as I can. First of all, the City Council is doing a transport survey. If you'd like the link, please come speak to me. Professor John Appleby is running a sort of environment sustainability week, and he needs volunteers to, what did he need volunteers for? To run activities with sixth formers. If you're interested, please email him. I'm doing some work around reviewing, getting student feedback on the student charter right now. So if you're on an exec, then hopefully your respective SAB will have already spoken to you about this. If you're not on an exec and you'd like to make your voice heard around the student charter, please come speak with me. Is there anything else? I'm pretty sure that was it. 3 cheers for the fact we've got a full officer team, finally, all libs and SABs and chairs.
Does anyone okay.
Hi all, while we're on the subject of libs, I'm one of the liberation officers. I'm LGBTQ+ officer, got there in the end. We've got a drop-in session happening tomorrow. Obviously by the fact that you're all here, you all know who we are, who we exist, that we exist. The rest of the student body doesn't really know either who we are or what we do. So we're introducing these drop-in sessions once a fortnight to once a month, just to try and increase sort of awareness in the general student body, and also, you know, let people know if they've got any complaints related to our specific areas as officers, you can come to us just like you can for the SABs for general sort of, say, SWAT for activities queries. So come by and say hi. We'll be in NUSU all day tomorrow? Most of the day tomorrow.
Anybody has more announcements to share? Yes.
Hey. This is included in my officer report, but I thought it was important enough to share in the updates that some changes to the academic calendar have been approved by Senate, and those changes have gone through a consultation with students and staff around the university, and hopefully those changes will have a positive effect on the student experience going forward. They wouldn't come into effect until academic year 2026-27. So the next year will be just as it is, and then it will change the year after for anyone who's still going to be here there. So ask me any questions on these one of there's four main changes that are happening. Starting induction and teaching 1 week later, which will hopefully give more time, well it will give more time after resits and the beginning of the academic year to give those students more time between getting their results and having more time to sort things out. And more time for international students to secure visas before arriving and hopefully not missing that first chunk of teaching that can be quite distressing for some people, obviously. We currently have 11-week semesters, so the change would be changing from 11 weeks into 12-week semesters with protection of that week break, one in each semester, to make sure students do have that break. The spring break, by the way, Christmas and Easter break have now been renamed to winter and spring break. Okay? Spring break will be reduced from 4 weeks to 3, but that week, that extra week will then be added after the end of semester 2 exam period, between the end of that and the meeting of the Board of Examiners, to allow more time for proper quality marking and scrutiny of that marking. So that doesn't mean that students will get their exam results any quicker, but it means nobody's going to get their results late. So that is a good thing. And also that changing that 4 weeks to 3 also means that there's less kind of no contact time between students and academic staff, and having that expectation in that time, during which there would be like a university quiet time period. So for example, if you're writing a dissertation, which I understand that spring's kind of crunch time for dissertations, there's going to be a university quiet time during that spring break, which means that there would be an understanding that you probably won't be able to reach your supervisor, for example, or academic colleagues during 1 or 2 weeks during that spring break, just like you would expect during the winter break. So I have all those details in my officer report. If you have any kind of, or if you want to revisit that, do let me know if you have any questions about that, or please let me know. But I understand that the breaks from teaching won't look exactly the same going forward as they do now, but I have tried to protect them as much as I can, and hopefully the overall changes will have positive effects on the student kind of educational experience in the future. So just to let you all know, for the people who will be here in 2026, to expect those changes. So that's all from me.
Anybody? Okay.
Hi, I'm Ella. I'm the campaign coordinator for Plant-Based Unis. It's like a sustainability campaign trying to get the uni to make their food systems more sustainable by going plant-based. We have a joint event with Disability Society next Wednesday. The number is killing in this room at 6:30 till 8 p.m. talking about like inclusivity of plant-based menus, options, and like how a plant-based food system could look at the university. If anyone's interested, it's open to everyone.
Any more announcement you would like to share? If not, we're going to move on to open debate. How do you think the tuition fee and loan maintenance system should change?
So this question is, unsurprisingly, for me and Jasmine, and we kind of thought it up in the run-up to council because we feel that these are kind of things that really need to be talked about right now, with tuition fees rising and then changing the maintenance loan system but not quite changing it enough, with international student fees constantly rising and how much universities rely on them. And we kind of, it's something that we need to talk about, and it's something we wanted to hear your opinions on, sort of how you feel about it, how you think it should look instead. Oh gosh, I'll be packing that over. It's fine, I'm something.
Just feel free to raise your hand if you would like to share any of your opinions.
I can
Sure.
start it off since I brought it. I don't think, so I'm not a home student, I'm an international student, And a lot of people who have spoken with me will have heard my very vocal opinions on this. I don't like the way the tuition fee system is now. I don't think it works. The tuition fees for home students place far too much of an emphasis on home students to be paying for universities and universities being run, even though they bring a lot of public benefit. And really, I think there should be a stronger government contribution. And because the home student fees are quite low in comparison, it puts an unethical pressure on international student fees. Again, a lot of people I talk to know this, including the VC. I have said this to his face. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents. I don't like the tuition fee system. I think that there should be more government contribution so that there's less of a reliance on international student fees.
So, to add on from what you said, we have been attending Senate meetings where Vice Chancellor and also board members from the university are part of it. It's a bigger part of the meeting, and from last 2 meetings that we have attended, subconsciously, like what Deva said, is they're saying, and it reflects the unethical pressure they have from the investment they want from international students. They always talk about how to increase international students' fees funding for the financial benefit. So that is some sort of, it sounds very strange for us being that part of meeting and looking as a seeing the university considering sometimes international students just as a financial profit. So, and I also got chance to bring this in the first meeting that international student fees is higher, but if you see onto the scholarships and the funds that are available for the international students is restricted compared to what is provided for the home students now. So, so that is something that university can work at least to at least make it open all the scholarships that is available for all students, make it more transparent and available for the international students as well.
Just on the like maintenance, the loan maintenance system, I think there's a lot of issues there with how much people get depending on like certain circumstances, and there's obviously tick boxes to fill in of if you, how many parents you have and such things and their incomes, but it doesn't really take into account people's personal issues, anything from somebody who maybe their parents don't work because they've been handed down millions, who could get lots and lots of money, to somebody who maybe their family have money but their family refuse to help them go to university, and that really just puts massive impact on those people who deserve to come to university and maybe just cannot afford it, and then the university scheme for helping people with being like, you know, do you have parents? Do they help you in any way, even if it's not anywhere near enough to live at university? Maybe don't help you basically, and it's just quite a harsh scheme for deciding on how much people get at university, and the top amount is it's a lot. Like you do get a lot of money, and probably more than you would need, and the bottom amount is just nobody can live off that. Even when you have a job, if you have a job, you then don't get to get involved in anything from having student voice because you don't have time to go to meetings like this, to like decide what to do.
Yeah, I agree. On that, I think the government system kind of just assumes that parents will help, and like the fact that it is completely assessed not only just by like parental income, but sometimes even like step parental income. And I know there's a lot of different situations where people get way less money than they should be just by like where certain parents and like their partners are living. And yeah, basically, I think there either needs to be some way. Obviously, they can't mandate parents to help, but some way for parents to like have to prove that they are helping, or the government. Yeah, I'm not fully explaining it, but yeah, basically, they shouldn't be assuming that parents are going to help out. If the parents are helping out, then I understand that like loans possibly should be reduced, but there should be a way for students to be like, look, I'm not getting any support from my parents, or even very limited support, so therefore I do need a higher student loan, even if the household income is higher, I guess.
What's the thing on that? Like, if you're even if your parents are willing to help,
second year biomed, and it is brutal out here. It's so much coursework to do, and I've been complaining about this all day. I'm going to be working till 4 a.m. tomorrow, and I've got a poster to do with Wicked's coming out, and I work at a cinema. I'm not happy about it. But yeah, so part-time jobs, obviously, they are great for those of us who can get them or have them, but I think they're very much marketed as a kind of a fits-all solution, and they're really not, because they are hard to get.
I just want to develop your point. Recently, it's been announced within Green King pubs that they are cutting jobs. So I think it's around 400 jobs are going. I've worked on and off for Green King as a student since the very beginning, and as soon as the wage increases, they're cutting staff. And this is not just within Green King, this is across all hospitality jobs that most students go to, because they become more flexible when it comes to work. It's not the case. And also, a friend of mine, she's working ridiculous hours already alongside her degree. They're closing down the restaurant because they can't actually afford to pay their staff. So it's really, it's difficult out there, guys. So I think that is something that should be considered. And following on, I want to say I did flag this up with Chris Day when I interviewed him for the article that was on the Courier, and he didn't like it. He said, well, I can read you the quote later on, but it was like, oh, well, just because there's no jobs within the university, because they're becoming more competitive, students should still look outside. But the fact that both the university and the Students' Union are giving out less opportunities because they're in a financial crisis, that doesn't mean to say other businesses out there aren't going through the exact same thing. So I think that's quite an important point to put across to the university, because someone didn't want to listen to me specifically on no.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I think because university is marketed as like a full-time, like we are full-time, most people are full-time students, so to say that students should then have enough time to go and work a part-time job, when, like you say, like the job market is how it is. I have a lot of disabled friends who like physically could like barely make it like as full-time students, let alone as like have a job on top of it. And I think there needs to be more understanding that university should be full-time, and honestly it would make everybody have like a better experience and be able to like fully invest in their degrees and like learn more if they had more hours in the day to like actually focus on study. Because my friends that do have jobs, they end up like falling behind on assignments. They physically can't do all the reading. Like it just means that they can't fully study like their degree a lot of the time.
I think this all ties into like quite a wider conversation about Leo and Hisham's point about international students and how they're kind of used as like a token for just generating income. Like international students can only work 20 hours a week. Whereas home students are getting so many hours that they don't have enough time for their studies. So it's just kind of, it's such a wide, multifaceted conversation, isn't it? Just wanted to bring that up.
Sorry. Aren't accessible, but say students like I, for example, can't be on a fee-for pay. There's like some sort of fast staff or anything. So that immediately makes me cut out any potential job I can get as a student. And it's a really important thing to highlight when we're discussing making loans and stuff.
I did want to add, there is something, I can't remember, it was one of those documents that you have to sign when you do your reinduction. Home students can only work 25 hours a week, otherwise it gets flagged. Yeah. It's due to, that is a good point, but it's mainly within extracurriculars on campus. So if you're registered to jobs on campus,
compared to our sabbatical officer's monthly salary. Like, he's got insane amounts of wealth and he's very privileged as a white older man who studied from Cambridge, who had all of life's opportunities thrown at him, to then turn around in this cost of living crisis towards students and saying, yeah, well, tough luck, innit? That's just, it's really, really concerning. And he's got this attitude the entire time. He's not willing to listen to students. He's incredibly patriarchal, incredibly misogynistic. And it's really alarming that the university, a university of sanctuary, that is meant to be a member of Council of Academics at Risk as well, so CARA, has no issue with seeing their own students, their current students struggle, and putting such limitations on them, and having no issue headlining the increase in tuition fees and saying, yeah, it's necessary. It wasn't necessary a few years ago, so you've got cost of living crisis that you're trying to tackle with, but we're meant to just suck it up and try to deal with it while working full-time jobs. No, sorry, while having full-time degrees, which are more demanding than full-time jobs, respectfully. Because in a full-time job, it's very, like, for most of them, they're very automated processes. Like, I worked for 11 months and I could do a degree on the side of that. That's self-taught. But I can't even do my degree right now. Like, it's a struggle. It requires brain capacity and it requires brain power. So to see us as money-making machines, to be inconsiderate of us, and then to just get us to if a business itself is struggling in a cost of living crisis, how are we meant to function? It's capitalism, guys. Capitalism.
We're going to close the council. Do you want me to summarize the debate? Okay. So it's called a debate, but I think we're all on the same page here, which really I should have expected with this question. So I think a really quick summary would be that none of us like the maintenance loan system, none of us like the tuition fee systems, none of us like the fact that universities rely on international students so much, and we all think this needs to change.
Also, since we all agree, does that change anything?
It gives us strong evidence if we choose to do work around this, which I would like to do work around this. Which is kind of the point, yeah.
I kind of don't have a problem with the hot take. I don't have much of a problem with tuition fee systems. I think maintenance loan systems is really. I think tuition fees should kind of go up. I'm already getting funny looks. But I think when it comes to like the last time we saw like a big substantial increase by more than double on tuition fees was 2012, and that was up to £9,000. And the Chancellor George Osborne, which you might have many problems. But there's. I was talking specifically about home student fees here. But we were to adjust that for inflation today, it should be £13,000 per year per student. But the current increase is looking at increasing, so it's up to £9,500 per year per student. So that's more than a 25% decrease in the amount of funding that universities are getting in real terms per student. So I think that really it should be, the tuition fees should be increased, because I don't want to see government spending increase in universities when there's so many other places like the NHS, like prison systems that are failing, when everything else is failing. I think it's better place to go. So that's my point. Maybe so many hands here as a result of that.
Because of the time we would have to just like more, two more. Sorry.
Actually, yeah, I see your point, because 9,500 a year per student isn't enough to run a university. My main issue with the tuition fee system is that, and it's not really an issue, is that only the highest earners ever pay it off. So really the government's losing themselves money, and it's just causing them more problems in the long run. And that's the main issue I have with the tuition fee system. It's unsustainable. It's giving the government pressure to themselves that they could take away earning money.
So I agree with Leo. I don't think £9,250 is enough to run a university, and I do think that that the government loses money that should be invested in other things like the NHS. But I don't think there's a lack of money to do everything. I just think money is being held in the wrong places. I think money should be taken away from big corporations that are sitting on billions and billions and billions of pounds and reinvested into the public sector. I don't think there's a lack of money. I don't think there's a lack of resource. I just think resources are allocated in completely the wrong way. So I don't think it's unfeasible to not raise tuition fees, or even scrap tuition fees, and and keep it and improve everything else as well. I don't think that's unfeasible either.
Because of the time there, we're going to close the discussion. Sorry. As before we finish our council, we have late candidate for the role of school TV committee. We would like to just let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, I'm Barida Ejaz. I'm from India. I have a little bit experience on working at media house in my home country, where I got to represent oppressed groups, and I got the privilege to be their voice, putting out their pain points in front of recognizable people back in my home country. So that experience has given me the ability to